Avoid this mistake if you want true happiness. We've all been told that success, happiness, and fulfillment come from reaching the top, achieving the goals, winning the accolades, and collecting the milestones. But what if I told you that this mindset is a trap, a myth that keeps us chasing, striving, and ultimately missing the very things that make life meaningful? The truth is, focusing only on the end goal is the fastest way to burn out and feel empty once you get there. If you want true happiness and fulfillment, you need to shift your perspective. It's not just about the destination, it's about the process, the authenticity you bring to every step, and the purpose you cultivate along the way. In today's video, we're diving deep into 3 powerful ideas that can transform the way you live, focusing on the process, living with authenticity, and embracing a stoic path to purpose and fulfillment. By the end, you'll see how these principles can help you find lasting peace, resilience, and joy in every moment of your journey. Number 1. Aligning actions with your highest values. Picture this, a moment when you felt truly proud of yourself. Maybe it was standing up for someone in need, pursuing a goal you were passionate about, or simply keeping a promise to yourself. Hold on to that memory for a second. Now, imagine what your life would look like if every decision you made reflected that same sense of integrity and purpose. It's a beautiful thought, isn't it? But life, as we know, isn't always so clear-cut. We find ourselves pulled in different directions by societal expectations, the pressure to succeed, or the chaos of daily responsibilities. At times, it can feel like we're living on autopilot, ticking boxes and meeting deadlines without ever pausing to ask, is this what truly matters to me? Think back to a time when you made a choice that didn't sit right with you. Maybe you said yes to something you didn't believe in, just to avoid conflict. Or perhaps you let an opportunity slip away because fear held you back. We've all been there, and the sting of regret lingers long after the moment has passed. But what if you could rewrite those moments? What if you could align your actions with your highest values, not just occasionally but consistently? This isn't about perfection. It's about striving to live in harmony with the principles that define you, even when it's difficult. When you align your actions with your values, something extraordinary happens. You become the architect of your reality. Imagine a life where every decision feels purposeful, where even the small, mundane choices contribute to a greater sense of fulfillment. Curiosity starts to build, doesn't it? How do we get there? What steps can we take to make this alignment a reality? Let's explore that together. Number 2. Transforming obstacles into opportunities. Now, take a moment to think about an obstacle you've faced in your life. It could be something recent, a challenging project at work, a tough conversation, or even a personal setback that left you questioning your path. Do you remember how it felt in that moment? The frustration, the weight of uncertainty, the urge to just walk away. It's easy to feel overwhelmed when faced with difficulties. But what if I told you that every obstacle, no matter how daunting, carries within it a hidden gift? It might sound idealistic, but this idea has shaped some of the most resilient minds in history. Think about it. How often have you looked back on a tough experience and realized that it taught you something invaluable? Maybe it made you stronger, more resourceful, or gave you a new perspective you couldn't see at the time. The truth is, obstacles aren't just barriers, they're bridges. They force us to grow, adapt, and uncover parts of ourselves we didn't even know existed. Let's get nostalgic for a moment. Do you remember learning to ride a bike? The fear of falling, the wobbly starts, and the scraped knees. Back then, those struggles felt huge. But now, when you look back, you see them for what they were. Necessary steps toward mastering a new skill. The same principle applies to the challenges we face as adults. So, here's the real question. What would your life look like if, instead of dreading obstacles, you welcomed them as opportunities for growth? Imagine viewing every setback as a chance to learn, every failure as a stepping stone. It's a radical shift in perspective, isn't it? One that makes you wonder, how do I start seeing the hidden gifts in my own challenges? Number 3, the power of resilience and humility. Let's talk about resilience. It's a word we hear often, but what does it really mean? Is it about being unshakable, never showing weakness, or always bouncing back like nothing happened? Not quite. True resilience is something deeper. It's about facing life's storms with courage and grace, and when you falter, as we all do, having the humility to pick yourself up and keep moving forward. Think back to a time when life threw you a curveball. Maybe it was losing a job, the end of a relationship, or an unexpected failure that left you questioning your worth. It's tough to relive those moments, but they're also where our greatest lessons often lie. Resilience isn't about pretending those experiences don't hurt. It's about acknowledging the pain, learning from it, and choosing to grow anyway. And humility, that's what keeps us grounded. It's what allows us to admit when we're wrong, seek help when we need it, and see every experience, good or bad, as an opportunity to become better. Now, imagine the stories of the people you admire most. Chances are their paths weren't smooth or easy. Think about the inventors, artists, and leaders who shaped history. Behind every success was a series of setbacks and comebacks. They didn't become extraordinary by avoiding failure. They became extraordinary because they refused to let failure define them. And that makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if resilience and humility are the ultimate superpowers? What if embracing these qualities could transform not just how you handle challenges, but how you view yourself? It's an intriguing thought, one worth exploring further. Number 4, learning and growing. Through adversity, take a moment and think about the last time you faced a significant challenge. Maybe it was something deeply personal, navigating a loss, enduring a breakup, or dealing with failure at work. Do you remember how it felt in the moment? The weight of uncertainty, the sting of disappointment, or the overwhelming urge to just wish it all away? Adversity has a way of testing us, doesn't it? It doesn't knock politely or announce itself. It simply shows up, often when we least expect it. And yet, when we look back on those moments, we can sometimes see that they brought something unexpected: growth. It's a paradox that feels almost cruel at the time, how the experiences that hurt the most often teach us the most. Think about a moment from your childhood, perhaps when you struggled with something new, tying your shoes, solving a puzzle, or trying out for a team. At the time, it might have felt frustrating or even hopeless, but then, after some persistence, it clicked, and that's success. It felt sweeter because of the struggle. Now fast forward to today. Adulthood isn't so different, is it? The lessons have become bigger, the stakes higher, but the principle remains the same. Challenges stretch us, push us out of our comfort zones, and force us to confront our weaknesses. And when we do, we discover strengths we didn't know we had. Imagine looking at adversity not as an enemy, but as a teacher. How would that change the way you approach your challenges? How might it transform the way you see your struggles, not as roadblocks, but as stepping stones? It's a perspective shift that sparks curiosity, doesn't it? What lessons might still be hidden in your past challenges, waiting for you to uncover them? Number 5, breaking down goals into achievable steps. Now let's talk about dreams, the big ones. Maybe it's a career ambition, a personal project, or a long-held desire to make a difference in the world. Think about one of yours for a moment. Close your eyes and picture it. How does it feel? Exciting, inspiring, maybe even a little overwhelming. That's the thing about big goals. They light a fire in us, but they can also feel daunting. It's like standing at the base of a mountain, looking up at the peak. The climb seems impossibly high and the path uncertain. You start to wonder, where do I even begin? Now, let's rewind to a simpler time in life. Remember when you were learning to write as a child? The task of writing a full sentence, let alone a paragraph, felt enormous. But what did your teacher do? They didn't ask you to write a novel. They started with the alphabet, then simple words, and finally sentences. Step by step, you built the skills you needed to succeed. That same principle applies to our goals as adults. Breaking them down into smaller, actionable steps not only makes them feel less intimidating, but also gives us a sense of progress and momentum. Each step is like a puzzle piece, and slowly the bigger picture starts to come together. So imagine this. What if, instead of focusing on the entire mountain, you just focused on the first step? What if, by taking consistent small actions, you could build something extraordinary over time? It's a comforting thought, isn't it? That even the most ambitious dreams can be tackled one manageable piece at a time. Number 6. Redefining success. Beyond external metrics, now close your eyes and picture what success looks like to you. Maybe it's a fancy house, a sleek car, or a corner office with a view. Or maybe it's applause, recognition, and the admiration of others. These are the images we're sold, aren't they? Success, as society defines it, often revolves around things we can see, measure, or show off. But here's the thing. How many people have all of that and still feel empty? We've all heard the stories. Celebrities, CEOs, and millionaires who seem to have it all but confess to feeling unfulfilled. Why is that? Could it be that we've been chasing the wrong definition of success all along? Think back to a simpler time in your life, maybe when you were a child. What made you feel truly happy back then? Was it a toy, a game, or a gold star from your teacher? Or was it something deeper, spending time with loved ones, creating something with your hands, or just feeling seen and valued for who you are? As we grow up, we often lose touch with those simpler joys. We get caught up in the rat race, measuring our worth by job titles, bank balances, and social media likes. But what if success isn't about what we acquire or achieve? What if it's about who we become? Imagine a life where success is defined by your values, being honest, kind, and courageous. Imagine waking up each day with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're living with integrity, regardless of external accolades. It's a powerful thought, isn't it? And it makes you wonder, what would happen if we all started redefining success on our own terms? Number 7. Cultivating freedom from the need for approval. Think about the last time you hesitated to say or do something because you were worried about what others might think. Maybe it was expressing an opinion, wearing something unconventional, or pursuing a passion others might not understand. How did it feel? That pause, that second guessing, it's heavy, isn't it? From a young age, we're taught to seek approval. Remember those moments in school when a teacher's praise or a friend's compliment felt like gold? Over time, this craving for validation became second nature. We tied our worth to the applause of others, to the likes, the promotions, the head nods of agreement. But let's pause here. Think about someone you admire, not for their popularity, but for their authenticity. Maybe it's a family member who stands by their principles, even when it's hard, or a friend who chases their dreams with unapologetic passion. What makes them so inspiring? It's not their need to be liked, but their ability to live freely, true to themselves. Now imagine this. What would it feel like to let go of the constant need for approval? To act, not because it's what others expect, but because it's what you believe in. It's a curious thought, isn't it? How much of your life might open up if you stopped seeking permission to be yourself? Number 8. The art of saying no, honoring your priorities. Let's face it, saying no isn't easy. Think about the last time someone asked you for a favor, invited you somewhere, or piled another task on your plate. You probably felt that tug, that instinct to agree, even if it stretched you thin. Why? Because we've been conditioned to please, to avoid conflict, to say yes even when it costs us. Now think back to a time when you said yes and immediately regretted it. Maybe it was a project that drained your energy, a social event you weren't excited about, or a commitment that took you away from what truly mattered. How did it feel? Exhausting, frustrating, maybe even a little suffocating. Here's a memory to reflect on. Remember when you were a child and your parents taught you to share, to be helpful, to consider others. Those lessons were important, but they also came with an unspoken rule: to put others first, sometimes at your own expense. Now, as adults, many of us struggle to unlearn that. But imagine this. What if saying no wasn't selfish? What if it was a way of protecting your energy, honoring your priorities, and showing up more fully for the things that truly matter? It's a liberating thought, isn't it? To think that no isn't rejection, it's redirection toward a life that aligns with your values. Number 9. Building inner peace. Through letting go. Close your eyes for a moment and think about something that's been weighing on you. Maybe it's a mistake you made, a grudge you're holding, or an outcome you desperately wanted but didn't get. Can you feel the tension it brings? The way it lingers, stealing your focus, your joy, your peace. Life is full of these moments, ones that leave us clinging, replaying, wishing things had gone differently. But let's revisit a simpler time. Think back to when you were a child playing in the sand. Remember how you'd build a sandcastle, only for a wave to wash it away? In that moment, you might have felt a pang of sadness, but you likely didn't dwell on it for long. You simply started building again, letting go without realizing it. As adults, we've lost that ease of letting go. We clutch tightly to our expectations, our plans, our grievances. But what does it really give us? Does holding on make the past change? Does it make the present any easier? Imagine this instead. What if you could release the things you can't control, the way you once let go of that sandcastle? What if you could free yourself from the weight of what-ifs and should-haves? It's a curious idea, isn't it? To think that by loosening your grip, you might actually find the peace you've been searching for all along. Number 10. Focusing on the process, not just the outcome. Have you ever stood at the base of a mountain, looking up at its towering peak? The excitement of reaching the top surges through you, but as you begin the climb, you realize it's not just the summit that matters. It's the steps, the struggle, the view from halfway up, and the strength you find along the way. Think about a time in your life when you worked towards something big. Maybe it was earning a degree, launching a project, or training for a marathon. At the start, your focus might have been on the finish line. But as you progressed, wasn't there a deeper satisfaction in the moments you spent learning, creating, or improving? Those moments, though sometimes challenging, became the heart of the journey. Now consider this. How often do we get caught up in outcomes, getting the job, hitting a number, or crossing something off a list, only to feel empty once it's done? It's a familiar trap, isn't it? We chase goals with such intensity that we forget to enjoy the process, the little victories, the lessons along the way. Imagine if we shifted that focus. What if, instead of obsessing over results, we found joy and meaning in the effort itself? What if we embraced the idea that the climb, not the peak, defines our growth and fulfillment? It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? to realize that the process holds the magic we've been seeking all along. Number 11. Living with authenticity and courage. Close your eyes for a moment and think about the most authentic person you know. Maybe it's someone who speaks their truth, dresses in a way that reflects their personality, or pursues their passions without fear of judgment. Doesn't their presence feel refreshing, like a breath of fresh air in a world that so often demands conformity? Now think about yourself. How often have you felt the pressure to be someone you're not, to fit into a mold, say the right thing, or dim your light to make others comfortable? It's a painful experience, isn't it? A feeling of losing yourself piece by piece in an attempt to belong. Reflect on a time when you chose authenticity over fear. Maybe it was sharing a vulnerable truth, pursuing a dream others doubted, or simply standing by your values in the face of opposition. How did it feel? Scary, perhaps, but also liberating. It's in these moments of courage that we find our truest selves. But here's the intriguing part. Authenticity isn't just about being honest with the world. It's about being honest with yourself. Imagine the freedom that comes from aligning your actions with your beliefs, from living a life where you no longer have to pretend or apologize for who you are. It's a bold idea, isn't it? To think that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the decision to be yourself despite it. Number 12. Embracing the Stoic path to purpose and fulfillment. Pause for a moment and consider this. What does fulfillment mean to you? Is it achieving your dreams, building a legacy, or simply finding peace in the life you're living now? For many of us, the idea of fulfillment feels elusive, a distant horizon we're constantly chasing. Think about the moments when you felt most alive. Was it when you accomplished something big? Or was it in the quiet, unassuming times, sharing a laugh with a loved one, watching a sunset, or losing yourself in a passion project? Often, it's the latter. These small, meaningful moments are what give life its richness. But here's where we often get it wrong. We tie our purpose to external milestones, titles, possessions, or accolades, believing they'll bring lasting happiness, and when they don't, we feel lost, wondering where we went wrong. Now imagine a different path. A path where purpose isn't about what you have but who you are, where fulfillment comes from aligning your life with your deepest values, contributing to the world in a way that feels meaningful, and finding joy in the present moment. It's a compelling vision, isn't it? To think that purpose and fulfillment might already be within reach, waiting for us to embrace them. As we wrap up, remember that true fulfillment doesn't come from chasing external achievements or the approval of others. It's about aligning with your values, finding meaning in the process, and cultivating resilience through life's challenges. These principles aren't just abstract ideas. They're tools you can use every day to build a life of purpose, authenticity, and inner peace. Drop a if you've watched this far. It shows you're part of the 0.01% who commit to finishing what they start. If you're serious about transforming your life, take the next step with us. Subscribe to the channel, and let's continue this journey together toward a stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled you.